Okay, so welcome. I'm really happy to see everybody. Um, let's see. Before we met today, I was counting up the number of times we've had Soda Zen meetings, and I think this is just about our 100th encounter. And I think during that time, we've had maybe 80 different speakers so far. So one of the things I've learned from having a lot of different people, in our tradition, speak about their experience, I've come to understand that like the tradition stays alive because of different people's voices and their practice and their training, and everybody carries like a signature, sort of imprint of about where they come from and their interpretation of Dharma. So today we have the privilege of hearing from Jamie Howell. Jamie was raised in Brazil and partially in Texas, and he came to California in 1967, and he began his Zen practice with Sasaki Roshi in 1979. And then now make sure I got this right. In 1979, Jamie came to San Francisco Zen Center and has been studying with Michael Wenger. Jamie was Shuso in 2005 and then got lay entrustment in 2011. He's taught at San Francisco Zen Center and at Dragon's Leap and on Zoom. And Jamie lives in Noe Valley with his wife, and he's got 3 daughters and 3 grandchildren. So let's see. So Jamie's going to talk today about case 14 in the Blue Cliff record. And then the format's going to be Jamie will talk for 20 to 30 minutes, whatever suits him. And then we'll have a short period of Zazen, and then we'll have a circle for questions and answers and responses. All right. Jamie, I give it to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Well, before I even start about case 14, I should talk about our marvelous shikantaza. I've been sitting shikantaza for about 45 years. And I started actually sitting shikantaza, even though I didn't know its name, out of desperation in order to solve my koan when I was sitting with Sasaki Roshi. I sat with Sasaki Roshi for 5 years. And the first sesshin that I did with Sasaki Roshi, I had never sat a period of Zazen before. I just went and sat a 7-day sesshin. I was totally crazy, and it was a foolhardy thing to do. But I barely surviving. We were given koans. Each of us was given a different koan, and the way it worked is that 4 times a day there would be a call, Sanzen! And then a bell would ring, and then everybody would run up and try to get in line to see Sasaki Roshi. And when your turn came, you had about 15 seconds to present your answer. And if you didn't present an answer that was satisfactory, he would ring his little bell, and off you'd go back to the Zendo. And so there was a lot of pressure to come up with the answer. And there was a Rinzai way of meditating, which was to boil down the koan into a phrase or one word and meditate on that one word on the exhalation, um, instead of trying to say the whole long koan, especially if it was long and descriptive. You just boiled it down. That didn't work for me. So I started sitting shikantaza just out of desperation. I would just follow my breath and get settled, and somehow in that state of vastness that you would get from shikantaza, I would be able to come up with at least enough of an answer where I could delay the ringing of the bell for more than 15 seconds. And sometimes I was able to come up with the answer. Um, it was a wonderful thing, and I didn't really know it as shikantaza until I came to the San Francisco Zen Center in 1983 and was given instruction in counting my breaths and sitting with just the exhalations, or as Suzuki Roshi said, a swinging door between the inner world and the outer world. Your breath is just, the exhalation is the out, I forget which is the outer world and which is the inner world, but the exhalation is one world and the inhalation is the other world. I can see it both ways. That's why I forget. But Michael Wenger soon taught me and emphasized the vast world that we experience when we experience shikantaza. And he used to say to me, where are the edges? Where are the edges? And the further away the edges got, the more vast the world got, the more empty the world got, inside and outside. And you could experience a world without language and a world without concepts. And that was all prompted by his advice of looking for the edges. And so I spent a lot of time in this world of no edges, of vastness. And I got to be, especially after I was Shuso, it got to be where I could have a world of no language, of no thought, just complete emptiness. I could do that whether or not I was sitting or walking or lying down or anything. I'd be walking my dog through Noe Valley and I would just be totally empty. And I thought, oh, this is totally cool. This is what everybody should aspire to in a Zen world. And I didn't really realize that it was the cave of ice that Hakuin talks about in his writings, that it was a Zen trap and that it was no place to abide. But I was surely thought that I would be abiding in it. And I'm telling this story for a reason. I gave a number of Dharma talks in those days. I gave Dharma talks at Hartford Street and even at San Francisco Zen Center and Dragon's Leap and throughout Texas and the Midwest. And I repudiate every one of those Dharma talks now. I thought that I knew something then and I didn't know anything. I'm embarrassed by those Dharma talks. So I'll probably be repudiating this Dharma talk in a couple of weeks. So I'm looking at my notes. I'm sorry, cheating. I have notes here that I can't read. So I wanted to talk a little bit about what came of those Dharma talks and came of that time. I actually thought that I knew something, and it brings to mind that we don't know what realization is, and we shouldn't even bother with it. When you think you've realized something, you brought in yourself and you brought in something extra, and it's all gone. It's all BS. So, in desperation to get out of this cave of ice, I went back to my Rinzai roots and started sitting with a Rinzai teacher again and combining the best of the Soto years and the best of the Rinzai years. And I started getting koans from my teacher, a woman who studied with John Tarrant, Rachel Mansfield Howlett, who I studied with. She had come to my lay entrustment ceremony in 2011. And she had said to me at that time, now that you're lay entrusted, why don't you come and study with me at Santa Rosa and we'll get through the entire 1700 Hakuin Rinzai Koan collection in a couple of years and you'll have Inca in two worlds. And I thought, this is crazy. I am never going to drive up to Santa Rosa. I live in Noe Valley in San Francisco. I'm never going to drive up to Santa Rosa and um, study with her and then drive back. It's about a 2 hour drive. It's never going to happen. And then came the pandemic. And what did the pandemic bring to us? It brought us Zoom. And in Zoom, I could start sitting with her and start restudying koans. What I found was that my heart opened. I got out of the stuckness that I had been stuck in the last 10 or 11 years, and I became more open to the world and to everybody. And so, with that introduction, I bring to you Koan 14 from the Blue Cliff Record. A monk asked Unman, "What is the teaching of a lifetime?" Unman said, "An appropriate statement." What does he mean? What is meant by what is the teaching of a lifetime? He's talking about the teaching of Buddha throughout the life of Buddha. Buddha purportedly gave 4 Dharma talks a day for 40 years. That's a lot of teaching in a lifetime. I did the math earlier. I came up with something like 600,000 Dharma talks. But it doesn't just mean the teaching of Buddha. What is the teaching of a lifetime? It also implies the teaching of the entire Buddhist canon, both Zen and other types of canon. So the monk is asking, what's the teaching? What's the meaning? And Unman says, an appropriate statement. And looking at an appropriate statement, we can take it in a number of ways, but the way I like to interpret it is an appropriate response, the right thing to do. And the right thing to do is not merely something in emptiness, but it's something that helps people right here, right now. I struggled with this koan with Rachel, and finally I came up with the answer. The appropriate response is, "Grandmother, can I help you cross the street?" It's finding a way to actually help people and to respond to a situation that's right at hand. It doesn't have to be dramatic. You don't have to drag people out of a burning house. You may just help somebody buy a cup of coffee, or help carry groceries out to their car, or just say a kind word at the right time, or just choose not to get angry when Donald Trump does something crazy. You can, in anger, we can't respond as well as we can in equanimity. So that's the appropriate response. And not only does that get us out of get us into the world, sorry, not get us out, get us into the world of people and ideas, and it gets us away from the world of ideas. There's a poem from Dongshan. Emperor Yao came from the Buddhas. He bent the Yellow River. He walked the marketplace from end to end and found the sacred dynasty there. And that's talking about an emperor. He bent the Yellow River. He, in his position, he had the position to do lots of big things, not just help grandmother across the street. He had the opportunity to do big things on a governmental plan. He was the first emperor, the first government official to have done flood control on the Yellow River. So that's what that poem is talking about. That did a lot of good for a lot of people. He walked the marketplace from end to end and found the sacred dynasty there. He went out into the world. He didn't stay isolated on a peak or a cave. He went out into the world and did marvelous things, and there he found the sacred dynasty. not on a peak, not in a monastery, not down by the river by himself, but in the real marketplace. Um, so, really, what I'm getting to is beings are numberless. I vow to save them. That's the most holy, that's the highest truth of our practice. It's not how well we meditate, how well we play basketball, how well we do any martial art or art. It's whether or not we can really help people. Beings are numberless. I vow to save them. I don't really have much else to say. I love the interplay between people much more than I love just hearing my own voice drone on. So I'd love to answer many questions. I'm gonna give it to Kirk and let Kirk lead us in zazen for a few minutes, and then I'll answer as many questions. And y'all try to stump me because it's fun to be embarrassed. Thank you very much for listening. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jamie. Really appreciate that. Okay, I'll ring a bell. We'll sit for some minutes. Now, I hope you can, let me know if you can hear this. Give me a thumbs up if you hear this.